Content is us
Right.
being
When
nice and
Kiki was on
happy.
the podcast,
My
I
dad
know
is
we're recording, but you were so fake, James. So fake.
what? My dad has regularly requested that I be nicer to you guys on the show.
I'm fine with you being mean.
We
Put
can
that
take
on
it,
the
James.
put that in. On the record.
Smack us around. Tell
It's
us
more
what to do.
entertaining.
Oh no, all right, whatever. We'll start the show. It'll be fun.
Okay. This week on Socratic Cinema.
I think 13 is a very important age in your development. I think 13 is probably like the first time you feel that real deep sad that comes with growing up.
Deep sad.
She gets married to the guy she's engaged with, and he gets a regular job. But it's not sad. Like, none of that is presented as a sad ending. It's like, this is just how life is. Only a Sith deals in absolutes, which is which is in and of itself an absolute statement. So
Nope.
what about that,
Think about it.
Obi-Wan?
What up, party people? Hey, it's me, your boy, DJ Charlie, coming at you with from this episode of Socratic Cinema. I already introduced myself. Who's going next? Gonna bring the party up?
It's K-Dog. As in
K-Dog.
Kasey Clark and the Hizzy.
Yup.
The Hizzy house.
And then who's my last party fiend?
Oh, yo, what up, pledges? It's your boy, DJ JD, here representing Kai Apple Alpha Pi. I'm gonna need to see wristbands at the door, and remember 1-to-1 ratio, and keep it chill, all right?
1-to-1 ratio is a myth. It is a myth.
3-to-1.
I'm scared because James has practiced this. DJ JD,
No,
are you kidding
What
me?
is that?
DJ JD works surprisingly well. My name's James DeLisio. Definitely not a frat boy. Hi, how are you?
Is this a character that you do? Like, is this a thing that you've had?
I'm going
Do we
a
need to
little.
perform an exorcism? What has happened?
I'm in my Ken Kaneki arc.
Okay.
I
okay.
hope not. If that's... Oh, God.
Well, from that absolutely, I don't even know the word, extravagant opening, I hope that you could tell that we are talking about the wonderful movie Cha-Cha Real Smooth. Woo!
Yeah.
No one could tell we were talking about this movie from that intro.
Oh, I think we were, because it's about a party starter and all of the wild troubles that he gets into. It's from Golden Boy. I heard him described as Golden Boy, Cooper Raiff. He's only made 2 movies, and this is the second one of them, but Hollywood seems to love him and think that there is a lot behind what he's doing and thinks that he has a very bright future. And I'm interested to see what my co-hosts are thinking about this movie, because I came in with a certain viewpoint. It was completely changed. I got some complex takes, but let's let DJ K-Dog go first.
All right. This movie, if I can describe it simply, it was the best, most unpleasant thing that I watched recently. It is so heartfelt. Like, this movie has so much heart in it, and it also simultaneously rips yours out and curb stomps it and then shoves it back down your esophagus and tells you to be happy about it. And
Yup.
and I'm just gonna get a little sentimental on the podcast real quick. But
Yeah,
after finishing this movie, I legitimately cried. Like,
Oh,
felt like
face.
thug tears.
Thug
And
tears.
y'all know I'm hard. I'm whatever, I
Thug
this
tears.
movie genuinely, like, and we're gonna get into it, but it really touches on a lot of things that within coming of age stories, like, you kind of get the overarching like, oh, we're gonna get the girl and we're gonna do all this stuff, and oh no, we're also growing up at the same like time. I really felt like this movie, even though the main character was at least 4 years older than us, he was coming out of college versus us who were going into college. But I just felt it was a really relatable movie. Like, if you told me that the people in this movie like talk like that in real life, I'd believe you. Like I believe that like I believe that the main character talks like that, or his little brothers talk like that, or sorry, little brother and friend talks like that. It was just really, really relatable. And it was just really, really beautiful. I think my rating I'll give it a half point up from my usual like baseline, and I'll give it a 9 because if you can make me sob like a little girl, you got it. Yeah, for good reasons. For good reasons.
Wow.
But
Hey,
yeah, you got it. I'd say it's a 9.
major banger alert.
Yeah. DJ JD.
Yeah, bro.
Hey, what are your thoughts, man?
Listen, I'm gonna break it down for you. All right.
Ooh.
Oh gosh, this movie. Have you ever felt like a ghost sort of reached inside your chest and just like squeezed your heart?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, actually, on multiple occasions.
Because that's what watching this movie felt like. It's so like I'm convinced this is just like these are just real people that someone just put sort of a camera on. Like they're so multi-dimensional and flawed and quirky in all the ways that real people are. Like they don't really feel like characters to me. I mean, even the characters who you'd expect to be a little tropey, like Domino, you know, you'd expect a little manic pixie dream girl. All right, she's gonna set him free and blah blah blah. But like, no, everyone has so much going on, and I'm already getting ahead of myself. I love this movie. I think one of the most interesting things about it to me is how it manages to capture the experience of like the youth of today. And even just not just the youth of everyone living in 2022 without feeling really like cringy. I feel like when movies try to inject sort of current events and references in it, it's always outdated.
Yeah.
But this movie, like, it felt like in every way this sort of dialogue and writing shouldn't work, but it really did. Like hearing the line Jake Paul didn't make me want to throw up. I thought it should. It's really crazy. And I think it's because like shooting in this movie happened in like September 2021. It is a fast, and they cranked it out to hit the Sundance deadline. So this movie is like made very quickly, I should say. But I just adore this movie. It's possibly one of the best like depictions of the feeling of growing up. I think this movie has a lot to say about love and the fact that love is so often a choice and like I just my heart bleeds for this movie. I love it, and I think anyone who's above like the age of 13 is gonna adore this movie because it's just so relatable. I think this is a movie for everybody, honestly.
Yeah.
All those 12-year-olds are way too dumb to see it, though.
Well, I think 13 is a very important age in your development. I think 13 is probably like the first time you feel that real deep sad that comes with growing up.
Deep sad.
So what happened to you when you were 13?
When that major depression starts kicking in.
Do you know what I mean though?
I know what you mean.
It's when you start to enter.
You're officially a teenager,
and it's no wonder I wasn't even trying to tie it into the whole like bar mitzvah thing, but I mean, I kind of did, because half the cast of this movie is like 13. Speaking of which, love the cast, love the stars. Cooper Raiff does it all, writes, directs, acts. There's a lot to love here. There's a lot to love, and I would honestly listen. In my letterbox, I didn't want to appear too eager, and I gave it a 4.5 stars. This is a 10 out of 10 for me. This is genuinely a perfect movie for me. Like I can't think of much that I would change. I love this movie.
Wow, that is a glowing review. Holy crap. Okay. Well, so I sort of went into this movie wanting to hate it because James recommended it. And I was like,
oh, screw you. You're so mean.
Well, like, it was Apple TV. I was like, Apple TV doesn't really make that good of stuff.
That's where Coda came from.
Well, you know, sometimes, hey, a clock is right once a day. That's what I say.
Twice and whatever.
I don't know, man. I don't know how clocks work, but this movie, I think, is the second time that the clock is right. I had a really great time in Cha Cha Real Smooth. And from the start of it, it makes you think that it's going to be a very specific kind of movie, and then it subverts all of your expectations. All of these characters that you believe are going to be like one note, one dimensional, sort of just like only there to give you some emotional catharsis at the end. They change and they feel real, and every single one of them has all these elements to them that remind you of people that you actually know in real life. Like the fact that the main character in this movie isn't perfect and gets mad at his little brother for no reason, even though like typically he's a very happy-go-lucky guy that's kind to everyone, is really refreshing. The second half of this movie, I think, really cements its quality for me because it subverts so much of what you were thinking about of all of these characters. Contrary to James, there is one thing that I would change about this movie, and it is that I feel like the lawyer character, the actual husband of Dakota Johnson, I think he's too hateable. I think he should be slightly more likable. I just don't understand why Dakota Johnson would get with him. Like, I get that she wants to have this stable relationship, but at the same time, beyond him bringing in a consistent amount of money and being there to support her and her daughter, he doesn't seem like he's actually that kind of a person, or he actually loves her all that much. So that was like the only little gripe that I had with the movie. But the movie's like questioning of what does it mean to truly be in love? What does it mean to have your expectations and opinions of love completely shattered in your early 20s? And it's sort of making a generation of people who I think probably feel very lost after the pandemic and after the current job crisis that we're going through in America. It's making this generation of people feel seen and heard and like they have media that actually represents them. Because so often I've been seeing these 60s and 70s and 80s like throwback movies. You know, we see things like Stranger Things. We see things like The Offer on Paramount Plus. I'm dropping that because it's an absolutely phenomenal show that you should watch. But we're seeing all these movies, and very rarely do we see stuff that is talking about the current generation, the now. And Cooper Raiff is, I think, one of the leading members of that generation in filmmaking who is trying to express sentiments that have otherwise been unheard. So Cha-Cha Real Smooth is very unique in that aspect, and I think everyone should absolutely watch it. It is another banger from Apple TV. And I'd probably give it a 9 out of 10. I think that's probably pretty fair. It doesn't hit the emotional highs as like Chef did for me, but it is still very, very good, and you should absolutely give it a watch.
Very good, very good. Gosh, where to dig into this 3-course meal, guys? Where do we start? I have one thing that I just want to, there's not really a take involved. Wouldn't you know it? Well, actually, last episode would have been the 1st of July. So we're sorry. We forgot because we were too busy with our wonderful guest. Go check that episode out if you haven't yet. But we are here to thank our patrons who, you know, if you're still here, you know what's going on, right? The patrons, these are the guys who make it possible. These are the pledge bros who've gone above and beyond for Kappa Alpha Sigma Pi and have just really stepped up for the community we've built here. And so last month, I think we did a wrap. I don't want to do that again. So
never again.
I'm just going to thank you, Norma. Kasey, give me a bit. So I can't.
Why don't I get asked to give the beat? Is it because you think I don't have rhythm?
I'm very nervous right now. I'm very nervous right now. This month, I'd like to thank, from the bottom of my heart, Rachel DeLisio, Lisa DeLisio, Samuel Copeland, Jeanette Clark, Heather and Michael Clark, Mariah Helm, Peter DeLisio, happy late birthday, love you, buddy, Roger Anderson, Hizzy Hay, Christopher Heatherly, Salvador Reyes, and of course, Mr. SkullHammerSmash. Thank you all so much for continuing to support the show. We sincerely couldn't do it without you, and we'll answer some of your questions later today. Just sit tight. Foreshadowing, as they call that in the business. It's not foreshadowing to say, yeah. But there's one thing, diving back in, I would like to talk about the cast, because I think there's some incredible stuff going on here. I think there's some real talent, and it's not often that you see child actors that don't suck. Evan Asante, I don't know. As David, that was an incredible performance. Like he was so he should have been one of those little guys in the It movie, Because listen, he did what needed to be done. He
was
really,
like 3 years old when that movie
he was
came
really
out.
great. And even Colton Osorio as Rodrigo, who is even younger. He looks small. And maybe I'm just being mean, but he was also really good. Like they were both good and not annoying. Colton got on my nerves a little bit, but overall.
What?
Just a tiny bit. I don't know. But overall, no, this is great. And the one that I really am very happy about is that Vanessa Berghardt, the actress who plays Lola, does have autism in real life. And I was so happy to see that representation. Because after the disaster that was, oh gosh, what was it, Sia's movie? Sia's movie. I forgot what it was called. That was dumpster fire.
No. It's Voldemort's name. We can't speak it. Otherwise, great evil's unleashed.
It's just really nice to see, an actress who actually is on the spectrum playing the character as such. Because a lot of times in these films, that doesn't happen. Where you have characters with very specific, they're underrepresented in certain ways, whether it be neurodivergence or what have you, and the actors just don't fit the bill. And so it's really nice to see films actually getting these amazingly talented actresses like Vanessa Berghardt playing these roles, because she was wonderful. She was really great.
Yeah.
Truly. Well, and that was one of the things I was most worried about, is this film actually has a lot of icks for me that I thought were really going to disrupt my enjoyment of it. And none of the things I'm about to say are bad parts of the film. I just thought they were going to be. I have an ick around neurodivergent characters in movies, because so often they are played by non-neurodivergent actors, and it really sucks. And I know a lot of neurodivergent people, and I'm like, yeah, I hate it when it's wrong on screen. It just really gives me the heebie-jeebies. So it was really great to see that in this movie that was really good. Some of the relationships in the movie are also unlike anything I have. I would never say the stuff that the two brothers talk about to either of my siblings. That's just not how we roll. So that was giving me the ick. I was like, weird, not me. Or dancing. I hate dancing so much. I would die if you tried to get me out on the dance floor.
Charlie, all I'm hearing is I think this is just you.
Yeah. No. These are not bad things about the movie. Let me clarify. These are just things that icks that I have with the movie that do not take away from my enjoyment of it, because the movie is so well executed.
I see.
I thought that my personal prejudices against the topics they talk about were going to make me not enjoy it, but it was really pulled off. It was pulled off with a lot of care, and I think that the casting of Vanessa Berghardt as Lola is really one of the things that really made that happen, because Vanessa is so wonderful in this role, so genuine, so great, and I really hope that she gets some parts in the future, because it was a really strong debut performance for her.
I think it's funny how you mentioned that you the relationship between Andrew and David was so sort of unrealistic for you, whereas for me, I've had so many conversations with my little brother like that. I felt, I mean, maybe not as
for sure,
not as movie perfect as it is here, but I think I totally, and obviously our age gap is much smaller than that between Andrew and David, but I felt very hey, this is actually sort of a realistic sibling relationship where they are very close and they josh around, but they also get annoyed at each other for no reason. And a lot of the awkwardness of sharing a room I really related to. And also, actually, that's a later point that I want to talk about more later. But yeah, no, I thought I felt pretty represented. Kasey, you also got brothers.
I do have brothers. It is a little different because I am a sister in a house of brothers. So they don't necessarily come up to me oh, hey, I'm having girl problems or whatever.
Yeah, you are the girl problem.
Yeah. Okay, James. But I do relate in some points where, even though there's a lot of teasing surrounding maybe the topics of relationships, that there was some very lighthearted moments and some very candid moments where it's no, I'm serious. I'm coming to you because I trust your judgment or your experience in this situation, and I want to know. And I definitely relate to the getting mad or having stuff outside of your or of the conversation or your relationship with your sibling bleed into your interactions with your siblings.
Mm.
Because just like with Andrew, like it was like he snapped at his brother, he snapped at David, but it wasn't David's fault, you know, like Andrew had so much
Yeah.
going on outside.
Yeah.
And the fact that it even showed Andrew going back to David and being like, hey, I'm sorry, it was a bad day, I'm really really sorry. Like that's good sibling, like it's good to show that um on screen as well,
Yeah.
because sometimes it's just like it's either like you hate your sibling and there's like a lot of resentment there, but you never really like know why the siblings resent each other. And then there's like not a lot of growth in the resentment, or it's like a complete 180 and it's like the toxic positivity aspects of the
Right.
relationship. And I feel like it was a really nice balance with Andrew and David, that you got the highs and the lows and the chemistry was there, which was amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the performances, of course, you guys have already touched on it, but
Yeah.
amazing.
No,
really.
but I'd like to talk a little bit more about sort of while we're talking about this relationship. I think that's a big thing on the whole that I really like about this movie is that there's a lot of love in this movie in like all its different forms, like familial, platonic. I mean, you've just got like it's sort of refreshing to just see people who really care about each other. And like that's not to say that they don't argue and they don't have problems, but like at the end of the day, there's a really strong, like deep sense of love that sort of washes off of this movie for me. Like Andrew's
Mhm.
relationship with his mom I loved seeing that on screen. Like that was such a breath of fresh air to me. I don't know. There was something
Yeah.
so earnest about it.
Yeah.
Like just
Yeah.
something about just a guy who like really, I don't know, who just really like doesn't hate his parents.
Mom guy, mom guy,
Mom guy.
Mom really does hate his stepdad though. Like
Yeah,
for real.
but they
What-
come
yeah.
around, and it's not so much like as much as he's openly like, you know, gets on him.
Greg.
Style.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel like it's not like hatred. Like they don't scream at each other. It's
They
sort
don't,
of like it's you know, it's expressed disappointment for sure. But I think even still, like I enjoyed their arc and how they sort of come to an understanding. And their understanding comes from their mutual love for the mom.
Yeah.
I think sort of the thesis of this movie to me is like love is so much more than just like, oh, I fell in love. I was just listening to this podcast with Sisyphus 55 and Olivia Sun, talking about like
yes.
they're both great video essayists, talking about sort of the conception of like love as an event, a thing that happens to you, versus love as like a choice and an act. Love is a verb. And I think this movie's really all about love as a choice. Like in life, love is something much deeper. Like it's you choose things and you choose to go through things because you love someone, even though like it's not always perfect. I think that comes through with Andrew's mom and stepdad Greg. I think it comes through with Domino and Joseph. I think it comes through with Andrew making a lot of like hard decisions in this movie. But he does it because, you know, he loves them, right? I'm being very vague. I don't know why, but I just think that's a big thing, especially with the whole theme sort of that Andrew talks about with like you have multiple soulmates. I love that.
Yeah.
And I've thought about that
Yeah.
for like a while before watching the movie, and I think it's true. And like, yeah, I don't know. This movie's getting at something deeper, I think, about like yes, stepdad Greg is not like the perfect ideal dad that Andrew wishes he is, but he's devoted. Like he chooses to be there for Andrew's mom through her bipolarness, through, you know, he provides stability. He's there, right? Like he shows up, and so it's a choice. And I think the same can be said of Domino and Joseph. I think, Charlie, I see what you were saying about like he feels too unlikable. I understand that, and I think a part of that's lack of screen time. But I do think
I agree. Yeah.
I think he was more nuanced, I think, than that. Like I mean, there's the scenes where, it obviously looks like Andrew's cheating on Domino, like comes out of her house late at night, and he's just like,
I mean, they did cheat several times.
Yes. Surprising amounts of restraint shown. That's all I will say.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
But a lot of emotional cheating going on. And Joseph is like, listen, like, I mean, his line is as simple as like, oh, like, thanks for looking out for my family. I appreciate that. Which on the surface is like, yeah, it's he says that a few times. So I mean, he's clearly a man who cares very deeply, and I think that's sort of a repeating theme with this movie is that like these men who don't seem like the picture perfect like movie star or like movie stars, as in like charismatic, bubbly, passionate, we're in love husbands. Like it's more than that. Love is more than that, right? It's someone who will be there and someone who can support. It just went on such a long monologue.
Yeah.
Someone,
No, I sorry, Charlie, you go.
Well, like I guess that my thing with the lawyer is I don't really see him show that love really at any point except for like that one line. Like he's this big Chicago lawyer who is away a lot of the time and in a different city. And from what I can tell, Dakota Johnson's character Domino is really not super into him. Like, at least I don't see any scenes and I'm like, yeah, those two like each other. I didn't get that vibe a lot. I felt like they had a pretty tumultuous relationship at the start of it. And I was getting the feeling towards the end of the movie that he was going to break up with her for her cheating with Andrew is his name or something. Yeah, Andrew. Yeah. For her cheating with Andrew, but that didn't happen. And I think you're right. I think with more screen time and more dialogue for him, I would have maybe understood where he was coming from more and seen how he shows love to people. But like, I didn't even get him. Like, there was no scene really where he interacts with Lola, which I feel like is such a big part to Domino, is that she wants whoever she loves to also love Lola. Like, one of the reasons why it hurts so much that her first husband left is that he left Lola and her alone. So I wish there was more interaction between the lawyer and Lola so that I could understand that relationship more and maybe sympathize with the lawyer more. But as it stands, he felt like a character that could have used a little bit more screen time to flesh him out.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I think for me, when it comes down to Joseph, like, I didn't feel any type of way about him. I felt like he as a character was a reminder of, like, to Andrew and to Domino, like, what reality was. Like, sure, when they're together, they have all these like fun times. It's just them and Lola, and that's like the ideal for them in that moment. But then Joseph comes in, and of course, from Andrew's perspective, it's like, here comes the fiance. But for Domino, it's like it's completely different. Like, yeah, this is my fiance that I don't know if I don't know if he is going to accept me and my daughter. I know that if I attach myself to him, then everything is going to be defined. Like, she literally says in the movie that her life has been defined by Lola since her husband left. Her life has been defined by all these other people. And so finally having Joseph, who, I mean, in my opinion, because of the lack of screen time, I really like didn't feel any type, like, as I said, I didn't feel any type of way about him. Like, okay, yeah, he's a fiance and we're supposed to not necessarily love him, but are we not supposed to love him because he's the competition for Andrew or because he's not a good person? Like, did not like that the feelings of opposition in the movie that I felt like were being crafted around Joseph were simply because, like, he is the reminder that Domino is not Andrew's to have.
Right.
Not necessarily about Joseph as a person, because literally he has, like, less than 20 lines in the movie. Like, we can't pull anything about, I mean, we can pull some stuff about his character from there and like his interactions, but even looking at his interactions with Lola, like, he really does care about Lola, because I don't think he would have he would have said like, oh, thank you for taking care of Lola, thank you for, you know, all this stuff. Or
Right, he
even
seemed sincere. He struck me as very
right, he
sincere in
seems
this movie.
sincere. And
Sure.
even right before Andrew is asked to be a sitter, they have the like the conversation where it's like, oh, well, I don't know. I just felt like the energy between Andrew and Domino, it was kind of not obvious that there was something going on, but it's like, oh, okay.
It
Like,
was
but
really obvious.
it was obvious. Yeah, it was obvious. But I feel like Joseph in that situation even was like, no, even if something's going on, Andrew is good for Lola, so
He
he's
was
going to be the sitter.
merciful.
If I had an inkling that someone was sleeping with my partner, I'm not inviting them into my house to watch my kid.
Yeah, say what you will
Like,
about Joseph, but he gave
He was
Domino.
merciful.
He was merciful, and he was like trusting, I guess is the word. Like he gave Andrew and Domino the benefit of the doubt
benefit
so
of
many
the
times.
doubt. Exactly.
And when it was time to lay down the law, he said, "Look, we're not asking you to be her sitter anymore." Like I mean,
yeah,
I think thinking about this from and here's the insidious part about these. Kasey and I started this conversation off the air, so it's sort of weird to jump in. But like we were talking about how there's this thing with these coming of age romance movies where it's so easy to identify with the guy, and there's this manic pixie dream girl who's gonna like turn his life around and totally free him. And when reality doesn't work that way, people get mad. Or when in 500 Days of Summer, Summer doesn't end up with the dude at the end, people are like, "Ugh, Summer's such a jerk." When it's like,
she said from the beginning she didn't want a relationship.
You think that way because you're thinking through the perspective of the main character, which is natural. But in this movie, in this instance, I feel like if you think about this from the perspective of Domino, it makes sense to stay with Joseph. Like she, as far as we know, is in this committed, stable engagement with a man who provides for her, who seems devoted, who cares about her daughter, who gives them security. And then here comes this guy who she like undeniably has very strong love for. Like I think it's clear that they're like going back to the multiple soulmates thing. Like they totally could have worked together, but she's like just some guy comes into her life and yeah, she like you know gives into that for a little bit, but in the end, like she knows that she already has something. Yeah. Well, not even that it's not going to work. Like she could run away with him and it would be fine, but like it's not. It would be fine, but like. She could run away with him. Nothing is stopping her from doing that.
It's a possibility.
But she chooses like, no, I have someone here. I'm not gonna. It makes sense to not throw all that away for some guy who popped up. Like
no, she shouldn't throw it away for him.
Yeah,
right?
I'm glad she didn't get with Andrew. I think I was worried in that because they say their goodbye and there's one more scene in the car in the parking lot where they say another goodbye. I was so worried that was going to be like, oh my gosh, you came back. And she was like, yeah, I want you. Like, I was worried that would be the ending. And it would have ruined, like, if they got together at the end, that would have upset me like a lot. I think it's crucial to the movie's message that they don't get together.
Yes.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
The movie should not have ended any differently, right? Like every major plot choice that the movie makes, I think is the correct one. Like every single beat to me is building up to that central message. It's building around this idea that there are multiple soulmates, that you should enjoy your time being single, that your life isn't defined by trying to find another person. And sometimes, unfortunately, it does get defined that way, and you got to deal with the falling out of that. And it does all that very well. I mean, the lawyer just needed, 5 more minutes and I would have liked him. I felt the same way about the lawyer, though, as I did Macy. I didn't like Macy a whole lot. I thought that Macy was a little lame.
Oh, Macy.
She could have been more, and I honestly thought they were going to go for, like, I think Macy works as a character. Like, I think her role in the story works. They just needed to use her more.
Yeah, that's
like,
fair.
I think it's good for Andrew to have, just a fun friend his age. in this story because he spends so much time with people that are much older and much younger than him. Basically the whole rest of the cast. So I think it's important for him to have that, especially when sort of the whole end of the movie is him like, no, I'm just going to take time to like be me and just make connections with people and enjoy my 20s and like whatever happens, right? It's sort of a very like, maybe I'll talk about that later. I'm going to put another thing in my folders. But I think it's important. Yeah. And I would have liked more of her.
Yes, I definitely agree. I completely agree with everything that you said, that she was, I wanted more from her, that having her be the only friend that was his age around. Like, I don't know. I kind of relate to that in a way that like a lot of my family friends, like they don't have kids my age. So you kind of are always around people that are either older or significantly younger than you. And having felt that, like, yes, having someone that is your age is definitely a breath of fresh air. And I feel like even at the end of the movie, Andrew leaning into like having just those, like getting to know people, going out, living his life. And especially when they put it side by side with Domino settling down, getting married, getting over like this fear that they both had. Like, I really think that showing the two main characters in their like respective like ending spaces was really amazing. You know, like Andrew was afraid of growing up and of getting, not necessarily of getting a job, but just being serious about life. Like, he's not a serious person, but at sometimes, like, as his mom and stepdad Greg would like hold over him, was like, you have, like, there's some times where you just gotta drop it and you gotta be serious. And I feel like when he was thinking about his seriousness, he's like, well, it means like being serious means that I have to go to Barcelona and I have to be with this person. And me being serious looks this specific way. And just to see that it kind of, or even at the beginning of the movie, like when it's talking about how he saw the seriousness of love with the party starter. Like, it's a funny way to show it, but he,
oh my gosh, that's such a good point.
Like, it was literally like that interaction was foreshadowing for the entire movie, but also it subverts the, like, this is something like, you know, love is something that like you see someone, you decide that you love them, and then you confess to them and you hope that it goes well. And if it doesn't, then you're heartbroken and there's nothing else out there for you. But later on in the movie, following that narrative of you see someone, you get to know them, you fall in love with them, you confess, but it's not that easy. It's not as easy as like him as a kid was thinking it was, and how we were shown that that's how he saw love. Like, he professed his undying love for someone that was like probably double, if not triple, maybe I won't say that, but like double his age. And like, he met that night, you know? And even going back to like the seriousness in his young adult life, like, yeah, it sucks when your partner, or as he described her, his lover, goes off to Barcelona and then she starts dating people. So he thinks that situation that they had was serious, and it was going to stand the test of the long distance. And he's just like, it's going to be fine, we're going to get back together, because he thought that was his person. And it just turns out that's not his person. And that's okay.
Stuff happens. Yeah. You meet people and people move on. And it's, I love how much this movie, one, allows for joy in just regular old life.
Yes.
I love, I touched on that a little bit in my Firewatch micro essay. But I love stories that like, I mean, the big Hollywood ending for this movie would have been like, he gets with Domino and he starts a successful business as a party planner. Neither of those things happen. He she gets married to guy she's engaged with, and he gets a regular job. But it's not sad. Like, none of that is presented as a sad ending. It's like, this is just how life is. And there's a certain beauty in that. And I love it. And the second thing is I love how much it leaves room for more. I think in a coming of age story, having a definitive ending is not like amazing. You need an ending that the point of the ending of a coming of age movie is there's so much more to go. Like, like life is just starting. It's like the ending of one of my favorite shows of all time, Sonny Boy. And I don't think it's really a spoiler, but like, actually maybe it is. So maybe I won't say it. But I love endings where the conclusion you arrive at is that you still have so much more to learn and there's so much more life to experience. I think of movies as having, this is my DeLisio crackpot theory of the episode, so get ready. Movies can have two types of endings. They can have... Did I already say this?
No, it's just a ridiculous thesis to have, but go on.
No, I haven't even said it.
Let him finish.
They're either and I've talked about this before. I've developed this. You can either have a period ending or an ellipsis ending. And a period ending is like in a sentence, it's over, everything's concluded, the knot is tied, and everything is like settled. These are your fairy tale endings. These are your Star Wars endings, or your whatever, right? Your endings where every part of like the story arc is over, everything is concluded and tied up, and it's done unless they do a sequel, right? An ellipsis ending is you have figured out, like you've overcome a problem, and the ending of the movie is, and now you need to go forward and use that. Like there's still so much more that needs to happen, but the movie doesn't show you that. It just sort of implies it's the difference between this person lives happily ever after and here's you seeing him live happily ever after, versus you feel okay knowing that this person has what they need to continue. Like, you'll know they'll be all right wherever they go from here. That's an ellipsis ending, and I love ellipsis endings. Like Sound of Metal. The movie ends not with him getting back with his girlfriend and making amends with everyone at the deaf community and blah, blah, blah. The movie ends with him realizing there's a certain peace in deafness. There's a certain peace I can find without hearing. And that's the end. And it leaves all the conclusion up to your imagination. But nonetheless, it feels good because you know, now that he has this knowledge, he will be okay. Like, he has everything he needs. So you get that safety, that comfort of an ending, while still allowing the realism of knowing that, like, there's so much more that can still happen. Every ending is just a beginning. And I think Cha Cha Real Smooth, I always want to call it Cha Cha Slide, which is just the song, has such an amazing ellipsis ending. I love that it's so... Like, the point of the movie is you still have your whole 20s ahead of you. Like, you still have so much life ahead of you to meet and love so many people. And that's like the message. That's the ending. You don't get me talking like this about any old movie. This is a 10 out of 10 for me. I could talk about this for so long.
I think that I judge movies not on their, well, like I judge them based on the delta. Like, where does the movie start? Where does it end? What has the character learned? Is there anything meaningful? And if so, your delta is going to be high. Your change is going to be high for each character. And if not, typically your delta is low and it's not that interesting of a movie. And I think in this movie, your perception of almost every character and how they view the world, and even how these characters operate as people, changes. They all learn interesting things. They all evolve in some sort of way. So that's why I think this movie really hits home, is because it truly understands what a satisfying character arc is. And it understands that in order to have these satisfying character arcs, your characters cannot be perfect people. And at some point, they need to be undone by their own character traits and then built back up again by their own character traits as well. Like, people are made by people in a very weird, like video essay endy sort of way. That's when you would have the fade out of the music sort of bursting. But Like this movie has a very good grasp of what character is. It's very much a character-driven story more than anything else.
For sure.
Like, yeah, and I also agree that endings can be open or not open.
So don't make it sound so dumb.
Here.
Don't make it sound so dumb. I think there's
also a gradient as well in this. So
I think it's one of the
saying goes, all generalizations are bad.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Only a Sith deals in absolutes, which is which is in and of itself an absolute statement. So
nope.
What about that, Obi-Wan? So what about that, Obi-Wan? Oh gosh, are we ever going to talk about Kenobi? I sure hope not. Ugh. That's how I feel about it.
Goodness.
Talk about how much it sucked for 4 episodes.
Yeah, sounds great.
Yeah, all right, you have fun with that. I like talking about things I love, like Cha Cha Real Smooth. And Kasey, I just wanted to real quick, your point about like the theme of seriousness. I think that goes so well with the title too, where it's like this is a very like earnest, heartfelt story about like people and deep emotions and growing up, and it has a silly ass name like Cha Cha Real Smooth. I think it's perfect. I think it perfectly captures like the mystery of adulthood and of life and of growing up is that everything feels like it's the end of the world and also just the silliest thing ever. Like, it's both, and I love it. And I feel like I'm just gonna keep going on heartthrob rants. So
no, and I mean that even ties into we've already talked about it twice or brought it up twice, but the multiple, I just can't stop thinking about the multiple soulmates thing. Like,
it's a really
that's what got me. Like
that's how I think.
It's like when you can look in someone's eyes, even knowing that it's not going to work, and be like, I know I was good for you, but it's okay. He is too. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Well, and it's like what these classical artists would actually think. Like, this is a really weird connection.
Exactly,
I watched Midnight in Paris the other day. Do you guys know this movie?
Oh, God. Yeah.
I actually really like it. So it is about Owen Wilson, who's a writer, and like, the elevator pitch is he gets teleported back while he's in Paris to a time when like Ernest Hemingway and all these fancy writers are alive. And what you get to hear are all of these writers' like opinions on the world. Like, he doesn't really have this big opinion in his brain, or at least he hasn't defined it yet. But Ernest Hemingway is like, all men are secretly good, and they do this and this and that. Like, it's these very definitive takes that people have on humanity. And this movie has a very definitive take on a very human concept like love. So it's super refreshing to see a movie that has a real point juxtaposed with something like Marvel and all this sort of stuff that's just like action scene, action scene, action scene, action scene. Like, it's nice to see people have thoughts on the world again.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It really is wonderful. And I guess what, guys?
What?
Chicken butt. But also, I have something important to say, which
it's not amusing what you just did.
Which is actually, I think it was
disrespectful.
I think it was a little funny.
Upset me.
I think it was a little funny.
Hey, Riley, can we cut that out? I don't think that's quality content.
Listen. I have two apples in each hand, and I took a bite out of each one. And out of each apple, I don't know what the odds of this are, a little worm came out. Right? Like in the cartoons. And each worm at the same time spit out a little piece of paper. And so I got the little piece of paper. I got both of them in my hands and I unwrapped them. And I'm like, these are really tiny pieces of paper to fit inside a worm. But I got my microscope and I looked at each little piece of paper from the worm from the apple. And what was on them, you'd never believe it, were patron questions. one on each slip of paper.
Whoa.
That was maybe the most convoluted way I've gotten here yet, but we're here.
I think so.
It's time. It's basically at the end of the episode, but that's okay because it's time to talk, wouldn't you know, about patron questions, and we'll give our patron answers because that's what we love to do. How this segment works, it's really simple. Patrons send us questions, and we give our answers. Today, we have 2 questions, as we always do. Question number 1 comes from Christopher Heatherly, and he asks, you talk for a living? He asks, what's the best party movie?
Ooh. Great question.
I know. Gosh, I think I have an answer.
I do too.
All right, we both say it on. No, okay, you go ahead.
This is the only correct answer because this has worked every single time I've shown it at parties. People love it. Clue 1985.
Wait, hold on. We got to define the terms. Is it a movie is it a movie where a party Yeah, it does.
It works for both.
But you have to give an answer for both. So a movie where a party like a movie about a party, and also a great movie to show at parties.
Clue's my answer to both of them. Clue,
fair.
Fundamentally is a dinner party, right? That a murder happens at, and then all these wacky shenanigans ensue. But the reason why the movie is so funny is because it is dated as all hell, and it owns it. Like, it is secretly a movie that was supposed to be made in 2021, but they just like they undershot it by 30 years. It is absolutely brilliant. It is like over-sexualized and crude, but in the best possible ways. And if you are like, let's say, I don't know, maybe 16 to as old as you could possibly get, this movie will have people laughing. And it's also like a fun little murder mystery. So you and your friends can try and solve it as you're going along. And the very special twist at the end, you will absolutely not see coming. And I refuse to spoil it. No. It's the way that they do the endings.
Oh, I know this.
Maybe I just gave a little bit of hint there.
We've talked about it.
Yeah,
So.
but I can't. I don't want to spoil it in case people are like, Clue, that sounds great. Just watch it. Believe me, watch it with at least 3 friends, and you will have the best time of your life.
Kasey, do you have any party picks for the party people?
Oh man, I'm okay. I'm trying to find the name of it because I completely blanked on the name. But it's a movie that recently came out. It's about these two friends, and one of them is definitely more nerd, more bookish, and the other one is more outgoing, and they're trying to hit all 7 parties on campus, and then they find a passed out white girl that ends up being a high schooler.
What? This sounds crazy.
Emergency. It's called Emergency. Okay, so
I think I get the plot. But
Sabrina Carpenter, RJ Seiler, and Donald Elise Watkins. So with the passed out white girl, you have 2 stories kind of running back to back. So we have the passed out white girl's friends trying to find her, and then we have our 2 main characters, Sean and Kunle, the nerd and the outgoing friend, and they're freaking out because she can't be passed out in their dorm, so they're trying to move her and find where her people are, and they're essentially transporting this. They're making their situation worse, transporting this passed out high schooler. But it's pretty funny.
This sounds very fun and hectic.
Yes, it is. It's on Prime Video.
Is this a party?
I've never heard of it.
Is this a party movie or a movie you'd play at a party?
It's a party movie, so it's surrounding misadventures at
right now.
parties.
Do you have a movie you would play at a party? I was just wondering which category you wanted to use that for.
Movie I would play at a party. Yeah, I'd use it as a party movie, not necessarily a movie I'd play at a party.
Okay, all right, fair. I think for me, my favorite movie that's about parties is probably Night is Short, Walk On Girl. Where it's just about a girl, just a crazy night going out on the town, just drinking everything, going to all sorts of festivities, and just having a jolly old time. It's one of those movies where it's no plot, just vibes. I love that movie. And maybe that's a stretch. Maybe it's not really about parties, but I think it is. I think it's about festivities. But it's not a movie I'd play at a party. No. A movie I would play at a party has got to be, oh gosh, I don't know. I actually don't know. What's a normal movie to play?
How do you go into that sentence not knowing the conclusion?
No, what's give me a normal core movie. Just a normal
core movie.
Anything by Pixar.
Insidious.
No.
If I walk into a function and they got Soul on, I'm sitting down and I'm
crying.
watching it. I'm joking.
What?
I'm like,
What?
why
Soul?
would they?
Soul is a banger. Soul's in my top 3, but
What?
no, movie to
Blinks.
play. Charlie, this is a joke answer. I don't know if you got it, or are you just shocked that we like Soul that much?
I'm shocked that you like Soul that much.
Oh, damn, never mind.
No,
I think I would play at a party, maybe like, oh gosh. Well, if it's anywhere between the months of October and December, Nightmare Before Christmas will never be a bad choice. But that's seasonal.
That's fair.
That's seasonal. I think overall you have to pick something sort of not too interesting, something that's like good background. Oh, okay, like the second Jurassic World or something. You know
what?
Where it's like
Wow.
spectacles
Not even
on
the
screen.
first one.
Well, because
The
a
first
movie
one was better than the second
Yeah,
First
one.
one's
yeah.
actually good. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but that's what I'm saying. A movie to play at a party. Actually, the first one's probably better because it's good enough that you're not going to get made fun of. But a movie to play at a party, the goal is not to sit down and enjoy a lovely film, right? It's just to have sort of like noise and sounds and something maybe
Whoa.
people can like riff off of during conversation.
That
At least
I agree with. That final bit. It's all about the commentary that goes on during it.
so something
Yeah, that's
riffable. We do have. I don't want to drag on too long here because we're approaching the end of the episode and we have one more patron question. This one might take a long time, so buckle up.
Yeah.
This is from Heather and Michael Clark. Have you ever done the cha-cha slide?
That's sort of a personal question. I don't feel comfortable answering that.
Well, I'll
On
get
air.
vulnerable. I will get
Okay.
vulnerable and say I have more
Oh.
times than I care to admit, and I've also done the Cupid shuffle, which is a lot to
Yep.
say on air. I still don't know what Charlie Brown means when he says it, but Lord knows I'll try.
You don't know the Charlie Brown dance?
Oh,
Do you
God.
just do one of the dances from the Charlie Brown scene?
No, it's like
What?
it's when you hold. Okay.
Yeah,
Never
describe it with words for us
Yeah,
on
we
this
need-
podcast.
Yeah, we need a great description here, Casey.
Uh,
Follow along, viewers. Follow along. All right, Casey,
So-
what's the first step? I'm standing up right now.
You're standing.
Okay, I wait on. Me too. What am I doing?
So
Yeah,
my
tell me.
understanding is the Charlie Brown dance. Wait a minute. I'm looking. Hold on. I need to pull a tutorial up because this is not.
It's
tell
over,
people.
Casey.
I
It's
can tell
over.
people.
No, because my understanding of the Charlie. Okay.
All right, we don't
No,
have
the
time for
Charlie
that.
Brown,
Whatever.
It's the reverse jerk. So instead of going backwards, you're shuffling your feet forward.
And guess, okay, I know what you're talking about. And guess where that's from? That's a dance a kid does in Charlie Brown Christmas. I can't believe this.
Well,
I can't believe it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever.
James,
Shut up.
Your
Have you ever done,
bravery. Oh, okay. You want to tell me to shut up? I was about to be vulnerable with you, James.
have you ever done it? Have you ever done it?
Well, I was going to say that your bravery made me feel brave, but now your bravery is making me feel scared. But yes, I've done the cha-cha slide. I've done the Cupid shuffle. It is actually one of my favorite things to do at dances because it is one of the dances in which the instructions are clearly said to people.
True.
So I'm not scared to mess up because I really hate, like, I get so anxious at dances because I don't like moving my body in a
here's what's gonna happen.
flowy way.
Carly and I are gonna go to a party, and I'm gonna be the manic pixie dream girl, and I'm gonna be on the floor having fun, feeling myself. And Charlie's gonna be anxious and like standing on the side. And then Time After Time by Cyndi Lauper is gonna play, and I'm gonna like lead Charlie onto the dance floor.
Yeah.
Please.
Sometimes
Wow.
you'll picture me.
Me.
I'm walking
Dun,
too
dun,
far
dun.
ahead.
Time
And
after time.
if you're lost, you can. And Charlie will be like, I've never danced with someone before. And I'll be like,
Yeah, I'm gonna like brush the hair out of my eyes.
and I'll go,
Yeah.
it's okay. Just follow my lead. And we'll start stepping in. Casey, have you ever
Wow.
done the cha-cha
I'm
slide?
gonna be like, yeah. You go.
I got way
Go
too far
white
into
boy,
that
Go
fantasy.
white boy, go white boy, go. Go white.
Hey, Charlie, I got moves.
Yeah, no,
Oh.
James be busting it down.
Quirked up white
Okay.
boy. Casey, have you ever done it?
Corked up with the sauce. Yes, I have. I've done it at weddings, at dances, at I'm pretty sure any function in which it's played.
All the shorties at the
barbecue?
function go crazy.
Yeah. When the cha-cha slide comes out.
You hear that little now
Even
it's
the
time to
honorary
get
brothers
funky.
are gonna clap your hands. Clap,
clap. All right. But that was a wonderful question. I think I'm surprised at how much we were able to say about that. So thank you very much for patrons. And this is actually sort of a perfect time to move into the spiel zone, because the first thing I'd like to ask you to do is, if you enjoyed this episode of the Socratic Cinema podcast,
to the left?
I'm going to cha-cha slide to the left and ask you to give us money at patreon.com/Socratic Cinema. Clap your hands on that cell phone and give us a follow on Instagram at Socratic_cinema and on Twitter at Cinema Socratic.
Clap that like button.
One hop this time over to a friend and show them this episode of the podcast if you think they'd be interested. That's all I got for this time, y'all. Cha-cha, real smooth.
Yeah, but we'll be back real soon.
Bye-bye.
Adios.
Bye.